Today we have a huge honor to sit here on these benches here with almost half of the legendary Blues Brothers band. Here we got Steve, the Colonel Cropper, Blue Lou Marini, and the three singers, Rob the Honey Dripper Paparazzi, Tommy Pipes McDonald, and Bobby Sweet Soul Harden. Yeah. Welcome to Tampere, Finland.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So your previous gig was in London almost a week ago, so what have you been up to?
Well, we had a few days off in London, so everybody was sightseeing like crazy and trying to dine as well as we could, and we were pretty successful, I think.
Yes.
Plus, we played 3 sold-out nights at Ronnie Scott's, 2 shows a night, and people really loved it. We were particularly affected by one guy who came up to several of us and said, please don't underestimate the power of the joy that you bring to people in this crazy time in the world. So that was a good feeling.
Yes.
Did you have a day off here in Tampere also?
Yesterday.
So how did you spend that?
Reindeer steaks. Delicious.
Yeah, it's excellent. Worked out great.
Saw a double rainbow yesterday. That was nice. And
It's a good omen.
the river was beautiful, and it's a nice town, beautiful town, very open.
So technically the Blues Brothers band was based on being a musical act for the sketch in Saturday Night Live. How did a simple sketch grow up in such a huge success story?
Well, you tell it. You were there. I only know what I've been told.
Well, Belushi and Aykroyd used to like to sit in with the Saturday Night Live band, and one show they were short of comedy material, and Lorne Michaels asked them to do a tour.
Go out and do the Blues Brothers thing, yeah.
And it was a big success, and they repeated it a couple weeks later in a more formal way, and then they somehow decided to do this Blues Brothers gig in opening act for Steve Martin. And they knew Steve and Doug from them having been on the show on SNL. Matt Murphy was recommended by Doc Pomus, I think. Mm-hmm. Paul was a natural because he was already there as Paul Schaefer. And Steve Jordan was the brilliant young drummer with this SNL band. And so the band sort of just came together, and we just thought that we were going to have a good time and make a nice taste, as we musicians call it, for a nice amount of money to go out in Los Angeles and play 10 nights.
And be in Los Angeles.
Yeah. And my memory is of looking down and seeing Jack Nicholson in the first row, and Jack Nicholson looked at me and he went. It was pretty cool.
But the funny thing, and I'll bring a point up, is that the reaction the first night that we played was very much like the movie. People were going, who are these guys? What are they doing? The music was good, but they were just kind of, okay. The next night, 2-3 hours before we went on, it was Blues Brothers, Blues Brothers, Blues Brothers. The word got out, and so then it went from there. And everybody in Hollywood came to see the show that could get in.
That's right. Backstage was like showbiz central.
It's
I remember
circus of
Alan
actors
Rubin,
and actresses.
Alan Rubin used to do an imitation of Danny DeVito after the show. Man. It's all I could say.
How did the original artists think about take your versions of the songs?
Muddy Waters told me that after the movie, not only he, but a lot of the blues artists began getting more and better gigs. That it sort of maybe sparked a renewal of interest in the blues, or made, I think more likely it made people who weren't aware of the blues more aware of the blues. And so, to tell you the truth, if anybody had told me back then that in 2014 we would still be traveling around playing, I would have told them they were out of their minds.
Yeah, exactly.
This tour also is special because how many years did you sing with the band, Rob?
I started around 2001 when Pipes took a leave. and been doing it on and off ever since. Yeah.
So, Rob has been singing this with Estette that long. You for 5 or 6 years.
5 or 6 years, yeah.
And Tommy, you were original 7 years in the 90s or 8 years. So we've had, Eddie Floyd toured with us for a long time, but Eddie is not wanting to tour. The rigors of the road for him have gotten a little harder. And so now, suddenly, Rob, Tommy, and Bobby are all happen to be available at the same time. And this is the first time we've ever been out with 3 singers. And man, we're having
They're having fun with it, and
They're
so why not?
great.
It's great.
And
They're
people
all
love it. It's been so this tour in particular, we sort of upped it a notch, I think.
Do you feel that you have accomplished some sort of agenda in that sense that you bring the blues to modern
Of
people?
course, our audience is full of kids, kids from as young as 5 to people in their 90s, and everybody seemed to enjoy the show, dancing. And speaking back to earlier, when we were at Ronnie Scott's, we made a connection, so we might be in we might actually end up over there, so we put a dot on that one. No, it's fantastic. This is all I have to say. These 2 guys, what makes this group successful for that long is because you got 2 of the greatest guys on this planet. Not only are they extremely talented, but their hearts are just big as gold. Fantastic. So that's what makes this group continue to flow like it does.
To follow up with what you said about some of the audience not being so familiar with blues, I think it always goes back to what John Belushi said on the first album. I suggest you go buy as many blues albums as you can. And he meant that. Get acquainted with the blues because you're going to love it.
So is it actually true what Elwood once said, that you do blues, rhythm blues, jazz, funk, soul, you can handle rock, pop, country, heavy metal, fusion, hip-hop, rap, Motown, operettas, show tunes, and polka, even, and when forced, even Caribbean? That's true. We saw that on the last.
We've at least all been on those
That's right.
on those
Funky
shows and
Nassau
played
is
that.
Caribbean,
We've
so-
played every style of music that's been invented, I guess.
Listen, man, in my
2-piece
career,
bands to
I've played
60
everything
people.
from the Lippes Honor Stallions to the rodeo to ice shows. I mean, and even to this day, sometimes we find ourselves in just absurd situations playing. That's one of the things about. I have a friend who is a great baritone saxophone player. He's on tour with Steely Dan, and he said the essence of being a freelance musician occurred to him when he spent a week playing the music of Gil Evans and Miles Davis, with Quincy Jones conducting at the Montreux Jazz Festival, and he got home to Connecticut and played a gig with the puppet Kukla Fran and Ollie.
Oh, Fran and
So the very next day he was playing for one of those handheld puppets. Oh yeah,
A gig's a gig.
A gig is a gig.
Yeah.
So that covers a lot of genres, but which genres do you classify as?
This is soul music, blues music at its core.
And everything else is soulless and
No,
not-
but you know
not
what?
real music.
There's something I'm proud about this band, and this band is so organic. It's a super strong powerhouse of a band, but night to night, it's like there's all these little things are just percolating through the band night to night, and we play hard throughout the show because you can't play this music the way this band plays without it being just super high energy. You have to play absolutely full out, and people respond to the realness of the band because there's no triggers, there's no click track, there's no pitch correction, there's no background vocal tracks that aren't really there. It's real, it's human.
Every note is played by an individual. That's absolutely correct. And most of them blend pretty well together.
Yeah.
also the rest of the band consists of rock hard professionals. So how do you describe these other guys in the band?
Eric has been with the band since the mid-'90s.
He came out of Matt Guitar Murphy's band. And so when Duck had some other things to do and had to leave for a while, they called Eric. Eric flew over and he played that night. He played the night after Duck had played the night before. It was amazing. And he had the show. Matt Guitar Murphy said, "Trust me, Eric can do it." Well, he did it. He had it, and it's great. We've
And
been together ever since.
Tropez, I've been playing with John Tropez since the early 70s in New York. And Tropez had to sub for, did he sub for you or for Matt the first time he played? It
I
was
think
in
for
Vigo,
Matt the
Spain.
first time, yeah. And Matt is doing well. Matt can play. It's not about that. It's just very difficult, and his doctors won't let him do a long tour to Europe and fly these long flights and
Yeah.
stuff. Just
Really
says he
hard
can't.
work.
But he plays all the time in the States and still works. So it's too bad he can't come over here with us.
And then you have Larry Farrell, who's an amazing trombonist, and Lee Finkelstein, incredible trombonist.
Yeah, our wonderful drummer Lee has been with us a long time, and Larry Farrell, our trombonist, and then Steve Howard and I've known Steve since about 1968 or 69. He played with Wings and with White Trash, and it's a real brotherhood, you know, when you're on the
you
road
don't look
together.
at any individual as a new guy because it doesn't exist. They've all been connected for so long. We're all friends, you know. So it's one big brotherhood. You're right.
Steve, you are one of the most well-known blues guitarists. You are also famous for being a producer and house guitarist for Stax Records and a band member in Booker T and the MGs. You are also a co-creator of the Memphis sound. Names like Rod Stewart, Ringo Starr, Aretha Franklin, John Fogerty and Neil Young, just to name only a few. Also, some years ago, you released the album Dedicated, as well as took part on the Guitar Circus tour. Then there's the Midnight Flyer. What there is left for you to do?
Not a whole lot. Eat, I guess. No, as long as I'll be out there as long as this band's together. That's for sure. I mean, I've done a lot. Probably done more than I should have, but it still goes on. I play on stuff all the time, and I have a lot of fun doing it. What can I say? And I'll continue as long as I can.
And then Lou, you have a long history in playing with the Saturday Night Live. We sort of glanced it already. Do you miss those days when you were really active in the SNL?
Well, that was a golden time, but you know, I have never tended to feel nostalgic for the past. I'm always looking ahead to what's next, and also I think one characteristic of one reason why a band like this is so good is everybody is still has the same feeling we had when we started in music, and that is we're still entranced with the magic of it and with the making of it, you know. And when you have that feeling, I mean, I've been on the road since May 25th. I just did 40 concerts with James Taylor in the States. I had 3 days home, and then I came over here to start. And
The other thing is that, when I was a young guy, I looked at my mother and I said, Mom, when I grow up, I want to be a musician. And she kind of looked at me kind of funny for a second. She said, son, you can't do both.
Let's talk a little bit about the Blues Brothers movies. So the first one came in 1980 and is one of the biggest movie classics up until today. So by making that movie, do you think that you made blues as a music genre a huge favor?
well, it certainly didn't hurt.
Yeah, you said that.
It didn't hurt. I think I can say this honestly and speak for everybody that was in that movie. None of the guys in the band, and to have the band being in the movie as actors is unheard of in Hollywood. Everybody in Hollywood will tell you that. But none of the guys, I think, walked away thinking, well, I'm going to be an actor. We went in there as musicians and we came out as musicians. And part of the reason I think that movie goes over is because we're very honest about what we're doing, you know. John was and Aykroyd was, and it's.
We were also. I remember when we saw when we were invited to the first screening, we were the New York guys that saw it. We were really disappointed because there had been a bunch of scenes that we did that were cut out of the movie, dialogue scenes. The scene when they're driving around with the car with the big speaker on top. There was a whole sequence where 4 or 5 of us went to a schoolyard where there was that speaker was on top of a big flagpole, and we took it down and stole it and put it on the car. And of course, that's gone, you know. And there were sections of dialogue, And we were all sort of disappointed in the movie. You know?
Lucky that most of those scenes are in the DVD extras nowadays. So, do you own any original props from the Blues Brothers movies? Sunglasses, instruments?
I have my clothes. Yeah, I have my clothes. I have my coat from the first movie. And
I can't wear any of mine. He can still wear his. But I still have my glasses. I can wear those.
Yeah.
Still have those and other things.
So let's have one last question. So after the first Blues Brothers movie, 18 years had passed before the second one, and now it's been 16 years since the second one. So is there going to be a Blues Brothers 3.0 or something like that?
I wouldn't be holding my
It's
breath.
not gonna happen. There is a rumor, and it is only a rumor, but I've heard it more than once, that there's going to be a movie made for TV, a Blues Brothers 3, with newer and younger actors doing the Blues Brothers bit. So I don't know, that could end it all. Or it
Yeah.
could start a whole new generation, who knows?
I don't think, the fact is that Belushi was amazingly talented musically. He was a natural guy. And
He was a singer and a drummer and had a blues collection unlike I've never seen.
And
Thousands of blues records.
Yeah,
He
and
did it, man.
Aykroyd
So I couldn't believe it myself.
he created a persona, and they did such a fantastic job. That would be big shoes to try to go in and fill. But I'm sure who knows?
There's cover
There might be
bands
cats
and,
can do it.
the Universal Tour and all of these big parks and all have a Blues Brothers moment or two guys running around in a police car or something and waving at
Well, it
people.
wouldn't be a real movie if they didn't have YouTube.
It would be a real
If it's going to be the real deal, they
Yeah.
gotta have Blue
Don't put real actors in there, put them in imposter guys.
Okay, hey, thank you for the chat and
Our
have
pleasure. Glad
a
to
great
do it.
gig
Glad to
this
be here.
evening here in Tampere, and
Yeah,
of course,
everybody come.
very,
Everybody come.
very great
Party
rest
time.
of the tour.
Thank you.
Expect a party, it'll be one. Thanks.
I bet, yeah. Thank you.
God bless.